Hey everyone, welcome to Frame Nest, your go-to place for deep dives into movies and shows. From detailed breakdowns and wild theories to scene-by-scene recaps and real, no-fluff reviews. If you love getting more out of what you watch, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. So yeah, the first episode? Honestly, it didn't do much to win me over. It dragged through some pretty generic emotional drama and typical teenage love angles. Oh, and in case you didn't know, Ellie's gay, but that's more of a checkbox reveal than anything meaningful here. Then there's this awkward tension between the two main characters, which doesn't really hit unless you've played the games. The action felt more like a minor inconvenience than an actual world-ending threat. But hey, at least we got a totally unhinged fight scene thrown in for good measure. All in all, not the strongest start, kind of underwhelming and light on substance. Now, episode 2? That's where things finally kick into high gear that you're probably wondering, how does this all stack up against the game? Is it a step up or a stumble? And does it actually help the overall story of The Last of Us Part 2 make more sense? Well, grab your bigot sandwiches. Yep, we're going there. And let's break it all down. Just a heads up, spoilers ahead for both the show and the game. So if you're not ready for that, maybe go do something a little more spoiler-free. This episode revolved around two huge moments. First, there's a full-blown attack on Jackson, which works as a pretty solid smokescreen for the major emotional punch of the episode, Joel's death at the hands of Abby. Or, as I'll be calling her here, Mini Gigantier, in honor of her game counterpart's unique physique. Let's be real, they clearly couldn't find a real human to match those proportions as Mini Gigantier, and her crew tracked Joel back to Jackson. But since the place is basically a fortress, there's no way they can just storm in. So what does Abby do? She wanders off to chill on a mountain and question the logistics of post-apocalyptic bodybuilding without gym access or protein powder. The irony? If they just watched Jackson for a day, they'd have figured out it has an open-door policy and probably could have walked in and taken Joel out without all the fuss. But lucky for them, and very convenient for the story, Joel just happens to be out on patrol. And guess who he runs into? Yup, Mini Gigantier. She's being chased by a bunch of infected, and Joel steps in to help. One thing leads to another, and they all end up taking shelter in a nearby lodge, which, of course, turns out to be a trap. The rest of Abby's crew is waiting, and things go downhill fast. Joel gets jumped and beaten down, just as Ellie shows up and sees it all unfold. Brutal stuff. Oh yeah, the broad strokes still match the game. But the show switches things up in some interesting ways. Let's start with what works. The attack on Jackson? That was never in the game, but it adds some much-needed adrenaline and tension to the season. It looks great, feels chaotic, and actually shows us that the infected are a real threat when they show up in numbers. The townspeople even fight back in ways that mostly make sense. Finally, though, I will say the way the battle just kind of ends, a little anticlimactic. The biggest change, though, is how they handle Abby and her motive. The show clearly wants to fix what many people hated about her in the game, that she just shows up and kills Joel with zero context. Here, they take the time to show her as a person, a daughter dealing with loss. The actress does a solid job too, making her feel way more human and sympathetic than her game version ever did. Honestly, I felt more for her in one episode than I did across hours of gameplay. There are other small but smart tweaks too, like how Joel doesn't just blurt out his name. Dina does it by accident during a heated moment. Makes him look less dumb, at least. Still, it's frustrating that Joel doesn't take the chance to defend what he did at the hospital. Even a simple, "I saved someone I love" speech could have added some emotional weight and maybe made Abby hesitate, even just for a second. That said, making Abby's motive clearer and building up to Joel's death does take away the shock factor. If you've been following the show at all, you probably saw it coming. And with a smaller, more realistic-looking actress playing Abby, she's definitely easier to connect with, but also way less intimidating. She looks like she'd get knocked over by a stiff breeze, while her crew looks like they walked out of a Viking saga. The real concern, though, is what comes next. Without Joel, Pedro Pascal's gone. And like him or not, the guy has a certain screen presence that kept things grounded. Bella Ramsey's got a big job ahead, and her version of Ellie hasn't quite hit the same note as the game version. Without Joel to balance her out, It's going to be tough to keep viewers emotionally locked. Oh yeah, right now the show is walking a tightrope. It's keeping a lot from the games, but making just enough changes to try and smooth over the rough edges. Whether that'll be enough to win people over, we'll see. For now, it's definitely better in some ways, but still has a few bumps in the road. Anyway, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to FrameNest for more reviews, theories, and deep dives. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.